Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my site softer?
Can I make my site firmer?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. Enjoy personalized comfort for better sleep night after night. It's the final days of our Black Friday sale. Recharge this season with a bundle of cozy, soothing comfort. Now only $17.99 for our C2 mattress and base, plus free premium delivery. Prices higher in Alaska and Hawaii. Check it out at a Sleep Number store or sleepnumber.com today.
Are you scouring the web for the best Black Friday and Cyber Monday deals? Stop it. Get Rakuten. Rakuten is a shopping sidekick that gets you cash back on gifts for everyone on your list. Right now, you can get up to 15% cash back at the stores you love. You can even stack cash back on top of the biggest sales of the year. That's savings on savings. It's more time shopping and less time searching. With Rakuten, you're always saving at your favorite stores on the things you're already buying. Cashback is automatically added to your account as you shop, and you get paid with gift cards, PayPal, or check. Or eligible American Express card members can even choose to earn membership reward points instead of cashback. It's truly a no-brainer. Now's the time to join. Up to 15% cashback ends on 12/2. Plus, new members will receive a welcome bonus after minimum qualifying purchases. Just go to Rakuten.com, download the app, or install the browser extension. That's Rakuten. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back to the King of Hearts podcast by me, Chiara King. Today's episode, I really wanted to talk about a subject which a lot of us don't know much about, and that is being in a healthy relationship. Yeah, I'm talking to you. Yeah, I know you're in a situationship right now, or you've been in a toxic relationship, or maybe you're in a secure relationship, but I have a feeling that none of us here have experienced a secure, healthy relationship, but that's why I wanted to bring in. She's a psychologist. She'll tell you way more about this, but Nawal, she's actually the brain coach on Instagram. She's also a social media content creator, and she's going to be talking about what it's like actually being in a healthy relationship. Are you in a healthy relationship? How to stop being in toxic relationships and toxic situationships and get into a healthy relationship. So I'm pretty excited about this one because I feel like we all need a little bit of help to get out of those toxic cycles, don't you think? Anyway, here she is.
If you love me, let me fly away. Maybe I'll come back to you. Maybe I won't.
Welcome back to the King of Hearts podcast hosted by me, Chiara King. And on today's episode, we have a special guest. We have Nawal here today joining us on Zoom. This is so exciting. I've been watching her content on Instagram. She's massive. All these quotes on love, relationships, psychology. I think you can go deeper into what you actually are specializing in. And so, yeah, to take it away.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm really excited about our chat today, actually. I love the topic of relationships, and I think it's such an important one. Yeah, so I'm currently a PhD candidate in clinical neuropsychology. So everything about psychology, as well as, the human brain and how we behave and why we behave certain ways.
Yeah.
And, a lot of that has to do with our emotions as well as brain health in general.
Hormones
So I kind of talk about all that on social media.
Wow. Yeah, I know, like, what you're doing is amazing. It's like a place of comfort where you're like, oh, why am I feeling like this? Why am I feeling like this? And then you just explain it perfectly. And you're like, that's why I was feeling like that. But yeah, so today obviously wanted to speak more on secure relationships and what that feels like. I think I have so many friends, and I'm sure you have so many friends going through your 20s, especially experiencing lots of like obviously dating, but lots of short-term relationships. And there's also like getting the ick from those relationships and getting bored easily. And also living in a big city is another big factor of like why a lot of relationships may not be secure. And just like learning how to change yourself or change myself and change my behavior and to be more open to secure relationships and what's normal, what's not normal, if it's normal to feel slightly bored in a secure relationship, or is it not normal to feel slightly bored? So I just want to like pick at your brain basically, and on your expertise in psychology basically.
Yeah, there are a lot of questions, and I think in the world that we live in now, traditional roles of how people are in relationships are changing so much too. So we're all feeling a little bit confused about
Yeah.
how can we maintain a long-term relationship, and when do we know that we're in something healthy? I feel like the word secure just sounds boring.
Yeah, it does sound boring.
I feel like I'm in a healthy relationship sounds more like something I want to be in. The word that we use in research and just in general conversation around attachment styles, it's called secure
Yeah.
attachment. So
I've read the attachment theory book about like anxious, avoidant, secure. And I'm definitely a mix of avoidant and anxious. Like,
that's a common one, but anxious is, I think, the most common. So if you're
yeah.
anxious and avoidant, you have sort of both problems at the same time to target.
Yeah. It's weird because, like, in one previous relationship, I was really anxious. And then in the next relationship, I like completely 180'd into avoidant.
And that can happen. That's a really good point because depending on the relationship dynamic you're in, what the other person's like, what attachment style they have, you could try to switch into another attachment style to try to accommodate for their behaviors and
So you,
the way that they
okay.
see you.
So you don't actually always have the same attachment style throughout life. It can change.
It can change. I think there's one major one that will be always there. But if you're a mix, usually it can change based on who you're in a relationship with, especially when there's other, because it's not just attachment style that we're looking at, right? There's also people-pleasing behavior, for example. So if the other person has a certain
Such a
attachment
people
style,
pleaser.
you might try to switch to accommodate their attachment style. So you will have your dominant one, but you might become more anxious, for example, if they're avoidant, because that's the dynamic that's the most attractive. They're
Yeah.
most attracted to each other, anxious and avoidant.
Yeah. I was in an anxious and avoidant, and I was the anxious one.
Hmm.
Yeah. Like, you have.
It's a fun dynamic.
And then you transition to secure, I assumed, or yeah.
Yeah, I think the lesson was learned a hard way. Like I
Same.
tried to be in that dynamic for 6 years, almost all of my 20s.
Wow. I did it for 2.
Yeah, I was married, and then a year into it, I was
No.
like, oh my gosh, I'm learning so much about myself. I was so young when I got into this dynamic, this relationship. And obviously there's so much love for, the person that you grew up with, basically. But I realized that the other person needs to also be very willing to work towards a secure relationship. It's not just a journey you take on alone. You have to have both parties, even if they have different attachment styles that might not be the healthiest, you have to both together go ahead and work towards a secure dynamic. If you're clashing with the other person, they're unwilling to change, you can't really do much about it in that moment. Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. I don't know about you, but my anxious avoidant like relationship was long distance as well. And it was during COVID. So it was like double unavailable, you know? So yeah, I just found that really difficult, which is why now I'm so interested in what it's like being in a secure relationship and in a healthy relationship. What does being in a secure relationship look like?
Yeah, like I guess there's one definition that I like to define it as, and it's more about, being in a dynamic where I can be truly myself without hiding any parts of who I am. I don't want areas where I need to make myself small. And I know that I'll still be loved and my heart will still be protected and taken care of, and vice versa. I'll do the same for this person, because sometimes I've noticed if I'm dating someone and I'm realizing that they really like me and I'm not as interested in them, I won't be able to provide a secure relationship dynamic for them, even though they're making me feel really, really great. So I think a secure
That's really
relationship is always
interesting.
about two people.
Yeah, it needs to be equal because someone can give you the world, but if you're just not feeling it, you can actually create quite an unstable environment for them.
Exactly. Yeah. And you have to take on that responsibility, hopefully end things sooner than later, if you're noticing that in you.
And how do you notice that?
I think there has to be an understanding of how you're treating that person. And how comfortable you are. So there are some signs of what a secure relationship dynamic should be like. And you want to kind of emulate all of those things. You want to practice them in that relationship. And if you're noticing you're not doing that, that's when it's time to reevaluate and maybe back away if needed. One of the main ones is, just being comfortable with sharing how you feel and clearly communicating your needs to the person. If there's ever a moment where you're not able to say something to them, or if they feel like they're going to be offended by things that you're going to say and it turns into a conflict over and over, that's hard to deal with. Another thing is just deeply knowing that you deserve love and respect. Because if you feel too attached to that person's reactions to you and how they see you, and not really realizing that you should be loved and respected no matter when and whatever is happening, then you allow yourself to be in situations that can be really unhealthy. If you have a deep belief that, okay, I know I'm worthy enough for love and respect like any other human being on this planet, unless I've like done something completely horrible and malicious, which I think most of us are never going to get there.
No.
You don't allow yourself to tolerate things that maybe you might if you don't have that belief in you. And I think that's something that a lot of people struggle with.
Yeah. No, yeah, I completely get it. What is it about today that makes it so difficult for people to have secure long-term relationships, do you think?
I think there's a few things, right? One of them you mentioned, like being in a city with a lot of people around you. Add that with online dating, like the apps,
Social media,
swiping nonstop, the addictiveness of swiping. I think it's almost so addictive to a point where when you're in something good, it's the chase isn't there anymore. So you try to highlight the negatives more than the positive because you want to go back and seek that chase sometimes. And that can be really chaotic.
How do you get through that? Because obviously, like in a secure relationship, there comes a point where that passion's died down. How do you know if this relationship is truly for you when you're going through that phase of like, not boring, but kind of like they're readily available to you every day? They're there.
Yeah. And that's the first sign, right? The person being really, maybe if they're too available, then that's questionable too. Like
that's another thing. When it's unbalanced, when one person loves the other way a lot more than the other person, the relationship's also not harmonious. And you can think that's a healthy relationship. You can think that's a secure relationship, but it's out of balance. Is that also not good?
I think smothering in any way is not a good feeling to be in. It's really nice to know that someone really likes you. I think no one has ever thought that to be not a nice feeling. But then when it gets too much where things are moving too fast, or you're still trying to heal from certain things, or you're still trying to work on certain things about you, even though you like the person, maybe you're not ready to move that fast. That's part of you communicating your needs. And that relationship is not secure anymore because you're feeling like you're being pushed now. And you never want to feel like you are
pressured
to do something in a relationship, being pressured. Yeah. So I think there has to be communication there. And if the other person's willing to respect your needs and understand where you're coming from, that then starts forming into a more secure dynamic. If at that stage the person is setting an ultimatum, which I think is never a great way to start off a relationship. And a lot of the time I'm noticing now, so many people are in situationships.
What is it about situationships? What is it about it? It's just basically a glorified toxic relationship. That's what it is.
Yeah, it's a new terminology that didn't exist 10 years ago. And now it's just everyone's in a situationship before they turn it into anything. It's just, I think there's a fear of labeling something. In my mind, getting to know someone and exclusively getting to know them is dating them. But now that's considered a situationship, even if you're exclusive. And if you're not exclusive, that's also considered a situation. It's just a mess.
It is. I personally have never done situationships just because I'm like, if you're not sure of me, then like don't waste my time and kind of thing. But like, it's so easy to fall into a situationship because you want to be the chill girl. You want to be chill. You don't want to be putting any pressure on the other person because you really like them. So you're like, oh, okay, I'll just like leave it for now. But then it's only damaging you. But also, I think a lot of people are in situationships because they still want to have their cake and eat it. Like they still want to see what else is out there at the same time. And I think it's like jack of all trades, master of none. So you can date all the people, but if you don't settle down to have one relationship, eventually you're not actually going to get the benefits of anything. You're just going to be alone because you have a fear of commitment. But it seems a lot of people have a fear of commitment nowadays.
Mhm.
Even myself.
Yeah, fear of commitment.
Yeah.
It's tough when you have so many options. I think there's a decision paralysis that happens where when there's too many things, the brain has a really hard time when there's too many things in front of you to make one decision out of it. And I think that's what we're seeing in the dating world now. This is what's happening where people are feeling like they're missing out on something else if they feel attracted to one thing. And that can be just a feeling, but people are so attached to it now that they are putting themselves in situationships. I really like the idea of what you said about, someone being a chill girl or even a people pleaser, right?
Yeah.
Both are dynamics where you can fall into a situationship thinking you're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
But it's actually going to damage your self-esteem, your self-worth at the end of the
100%.
day.
Yeah. Because then you end up being like, what's wrong with me that they didn't want to commit fully to me? But the issue is you didn't set that boundary for yourself. If you'd said, you either want to date me or you don't, I don't have time to waste. I like you. I really like you, but I like myself more. So I don't want to be messed around with. But it's so much easier said than done. Like I can sit here and be like, yeah, easy. But it's not.
Yeah.
We're just going to take a pause there and we'll be back after this break.
We all know those GLP-1 injections work wonders, but that price tag almost gave me a heart attack when my insurance denied coverage. I was staring at a choice between paying my mortgage or paying for weight loss. Talk about a rock and a hard place. Then I found Elevate Health compounded semaglutide at just $58 with payment plans that don't require a second mortgage. Same medication, same results, but a price that real folks can actually afford. Visit joinelevate.com today. That's JOINELEVATE.com. Your wallet will be as happy as your waistline. This medication is not FDA approved.
And a lot of the times when people have unhealthy attachment styles, they have a fear of abandonment or rejection.
Yeah.
There's these things that they really truly fear. They fear disappointing others. So anxious attachment is that way. And so if you are coming in with an attachment style that isn't secure to begin with, you are going to be more prone to be in a situationship. And I do want to clarify, not all situationships are necessarily bad. You have to also understand no one knows the dynamic between you and this person you're seeing than both of you.
Yeah.
Sometimes, like for me, for example, at this stage in my life, I would be very careful to go too fast in a relationship. And for me, being slow and taking my time means that I don't want any labels yet.
Yeah. That's where I always went wrong.
In addition to that, in my mind, if I feel like we're both exclusive, because for me that matters, right? Like I don't want to be seeing multiple people at the same time, and I'm hoping that the person that I'm with is also doing the same thing. Then the definition of that dynamic, whether we call it a situationship, because it's not actually, I wouldn't want to call it a relationship yet. That's a very vague space now. It's a gray area.
Yeah. You're just getting to know someone. You're dating them.
Exactly.
You're just dating them. You're getting to know them. I think that's what it is. And I also think I definitely hold my hands up and say I am that person who jumps way too fast. I jump into relationships way too quickly, like without actually realizing what I'm doing. And I don't know why I do it, but I have so many friends, they'll go on like one date a week and then one date a week with the same person for like a month or 2 months. And I'm like, I don't have the patience for that. If I like someone, I just want to see them every day. But that's also not healthy.
Yeah, and I think I'm kind of like you in that if I really like someone, I would love to see them every day. But
Yeah.
I've noticed, as I'm really privileged in a way because I've been educated in this area.
Yeah.
I've learned a lot through just studying. And so I recognize that this is not the most healthy thing to do. You don't want to see the person every day because one, you're still learning about them, and two,
True.
you can get too attached to them to a point where once you get certain level of feelings for a person, you allow yourself to tolerate more than you need to. You want to give yourself that space to just learn about the person and not only ask yourself, like, what can I provide in this relationship and make it better, but also, what is this person giving to me and how are they making my life better? These things
Mm.
take time to learn. And for me, it would be really important to be like, okay, maybe once or twice every month is too less,
Too
but
little.
pace that time out and evaluate, am I still doing the things that I love? And, am I not neglecting my work? Like, am I doing everything in my life as normal and
Yeah.
also making time to see that person? Because you don't want to lose your sense of autonomy too early on or ever in a
Mhm.
relationship, but especially too early on.
Yeah. And do you have any like tips for, anyone listening right now who is struggling with breaking that cycle and breaking that pattern of constantly getting in toxic relationships or situationships or basically relationships that are the opposite of secure? How would you best advise, even me, like, or whoever's listening? I feel like it's so beneficial to hear, like, how can we break that pattern? And like, is it to do with the relationship with yourself? Maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes. I think the first thing is to get to know who you are, what your true self is, what your values are, what you enjoy doing, what your interests are. Because one of the things that can happen when you get into a new relationship, especially, is if you don't know who you are fully, you start to latch onto that person's interests.
And you become them.
Yeah, you're almost molding yourself into that person. And
Yeah.
that'll feel really great to the other person, but that's not going to sit well with you when you get into a long-term thing with them. And that's when
Right.
it becomes uneasy and maybe a little bit even boring because maybe your interests aren't the same, right? So my advice would be, first, really get to know yourself. And then when you go out to date, allow trust that you will be okay if things don't work out. You want to have that faith in you that just because you are expressing your needs, you're sharing your values and interests, and they might not align with that person, for example, or they might just not like you for a certain reason, but you're being true to yourself. Know that you'll still be able to find someone who matches all of those things. And that's when you're working towards more of a secure dynamic rather than molding yourself into the person you're with. Yeah, setting boundaries, communicating your needs, letting go of relationships that are wrong for you. You can only
Yeah.
let go of something that's wrong for you when you know what's right for you. So you really need to understand yourself well.
Yeah. And I also think actually spending time alone is like, because I also find that in, today's dating world, it's so easy. Okay, we break up. Okay, next. Okay, let me just jump straight into another relationship without healing those previous wounds.
Oh my
And,
gosh, yeah.
that's just baggage on baggage building up and building up. And like, there's a deep rooted fear of being alone, of really being alone.
Yeah, it's a very real fear because
Even I have that fear. Yeah.
yeah, we're social creatures. I find I have a few friends that really, really value friendships. And I
Me
think that's
too.
a good way or a sense of community, like even volunteering, finding community around you can really take away some of that loneliness, I find. So for me, I moved around so much growing up. I went to 6 high schools. I just was a kid
Wow.
that was
Yeah.
moving around since I've been in Canada. But I have a sister who's a year younger. So we were together a lot of the times. But I noticed that it was hard for me to make friends and hard for me to, focus on
Yeah.
valuing my friendships in a way where I see them as long lasting because you make friends and then you move the next year and so
Yeah.
on. And now being in this stage of my life, I realized that value. And I think that's something that's been a key component for me to understand myself better, know my interests, and be able to walk away from the dating world knowing that I still have people that I can lean on and rely on and, be friends with. Friendships are very, very important to not feel that sense of loneliness. And there's another aspect of, how do you find friends in this day and age?
I actually love it. I love my friends. It's hard to find friends. True.
Yeah, I mean, I moved to a new city. I'm in Vancouver, British Columbia in Canada, and I moved here a year and a half ago and didn't really know a lot of people. And I felt like I really had to get myself out there and just be vulnerable, tell people I'm new here, I want to make friends, and I'd love to hang
Wow.
out. And slowly but surely, a group of people comes together and I'm sitting there at a party that I threw at my place and I'm like, wow, there's these people in the city that I know and like genuinely love. So I think you have
Wow.
to just really put yourself out there and know that it's okay to do that.
Yeah, and also like love doesn't just exist in the romantic realm. Love exists in family. Love exists in friendship. Like as you said, love exists in animals. Like love exists on so many other levels. And also, I find it's an unhealthy mindset to put so much pressure on your romantic relationship. And it puts a lot of pressure on the other person. Like that person needs to be everything for you. And one question I wanted to ask you as well is how do you break the stigma of a secure relationship or healthy relationship being boring or unsexy? How do we make healthy relationships attractive that people want to be in a healthy relationship? Because people are like, no, I just love being in a toxic relationship. It's just so much more fun. Like I have the roller coaster and whatever. Oh no, I don't want to be in a healthy relationship. Sounds so boring. Like, how can we break that stigma to be like, actually, no, it's way more nourishing. You're going to be way happier in a healthy relationship.
Yeah. You know, I think we all find chaos exciting and
Yeah. As humans, gossip, the news is all depressing and chaotic. We enjoy watching struggle. I think part of us enjoys struggling and complaining.
it's traumatic, right? It's something that gives maybe a sense of adrenaline in us or excitement. And that is a very temporary feeling. For me, I think when chaos is present in long-term relationships, it can really deplete us. And
Can drain you.
a lot of people learn this the hard way to recognize that this is actually not exciting. It's toxic and they steer away from it. But a lot of the times you have to learn it the hard way to recognize that this is not an exciting thing. Some people can really struggle with that if they've been raised in a chaotic home environment, because that is what is normal to them, that is what's comfortable. And it's very hard for them to feel at ease in something that feels safe and secure. But once you understand that chaos is not healthy, it can take away your self-identity and your self-worth sometimes, your sense of autonomy, then you would kind of understand how sexy it is to have someone who allows you to feel supported, which is in a secure relationship, it's key. There's mutual respect. You're doing things collaboratively. There's no power dynamic in between you guys. There's also in a secure relationship, because you're really good friends, there's this mutual understanding between the two of you in terms of your needs, wants, values, interests. Then you become a lot more closer to that person. And actually, there's this misconception that when you're in a secure relationship, it's not as exciting,
Yeah.
sexually, intimately, romantically. That's not true, because when you feel so fulfilled with someone, that's when it becomes a lot more passionate. You just have to have an understanding of what it means to be romantic or intimate between the two of you.
Yeah.
And that can happen in a secure relationship. That conversation is much more easier in a secure dynamic than in a chaotic,
True.
toxic dynamic.
True, because you're not scared that that person's going to judge you for what you're about to say.
Exactly. You can experiment, you can try new things without fear of someone's going to judge you.
That's so interesting. Like, I also had this perception in my head that like healthy relationships are boring. But another thing, you know, it's also quite rare to have a healthy relationship and also be in love. You know, you need to have, it's not easy to find, you know, it's not like you can just click your fingers and be like, woohoo, it takes work. But that initial attraction needs to be there.
The initial attraction, what's important to you needs to be there. And I think there's those two things, right? Like some people like to jump into relationships too fast, and then some people are commitment phobic. If you get attached to something too fast, maybe you're going into it without really thinking what you're getting into. Or if you don't allow yourself enough time in a relationship to understand if it is secure and if you can truly fall in love with this person, then it's not fair to you. You're losing out on something that could have been a really nice dynamic.
And also showing your shadow side and showing your dark side as well. You know, I think we're also really scared. And, you know, like a relationship can be like perfect on the outside. It can be really healthy and you communicate and stuff and whatever. But this can also be quite surface level if you don't actually know the person's flaws, because we're so scared to show our flaws to each other. Like I've had that issue in the past where like they don't want to show me their shadow side, or I don't want to show them my shadow. But then you're not actually you're only getting to know half the person. You're not getting to know the full person.
That's not a good start to anything.
Yeah. But anyway, we've got to wrap up. I felt like it went so quick. And it was so interesting to talk to you and like bringing your insight on secure relationships, healthy relationships being sexy, and why we're struggling as a society in the dating world to get to that point because of fear of abandonment, because of, you know, not healing from past relationships as well, you know, holding on to the past, and also not spending enough time on our own.
Yeah, a lot to consider when we're thinking about a secure relationship dynamic. And you know, it just comes down to what's healthy for us, what isn't. Where do we need to set boundaries, and where do we need to let go of something that just isn't working out? And it's okay to do that, because that's how you find someone who's truly meant for you, right? It is a struggle, and I think if I have to close this off with one thing, it's about embracing that struggle as something that's a part of getting to the secure relationship, being not feeling like, why me? When you're in this kind of process of dating and getting to know people, letting go of people, it sucks, it hurts, you move on to, you know,
it's like, not again.
Not again. Yeah. You know, and that's the beauty of life. You get to be a part of that until you hopefully find someone who's truly meant for you. But then, you know, like it was worth all that effort.
Yeah. And I feel like when you meet that person, you have that deep knowing. It also takes work, but that knowing of like, yeah, all of that struggle was worth it. And it doesn't mean that you're not going to struggle the one, I guess. You're still going to struggle. And that's another thing. It's like we expect to like meet that Prince Charming, be like, oh, everything's fine now, no more problems ever again in life. And then you're slapped in the face and you're like, wait, I'm still sad sometimes. I was supposed to be so happy because I'm with the love of my life. But like, I still feel like shit in the morning, you know?
Yeah, it ebbs and flows. Our feelings, our emotions, and you know, there's never a final version of a relationship. You're gonna grow together with time too. It's more about, because you're at the point where you truly love that person, you feel secure in that relationship, you're okay with dealing with some of those conflicts and problems that come up, because it's part of that secure relationship dynamic. It's part of that love that you have for that person. You're kind of growing together. And that's beautiful in its own way.
Yeah. That's so exciting. Thank you so, so, so much for being a part of the podcast. And thank you for sharing your words. And I hope everyone listening, I hope you got something from this. And stop that situationship, that toxic relationship, okay? We're trying to grow and be better people. We'll see you next week.
Maybe I won't.